Welcome to Bob Folkrod's Hunting Adventures. This week we're headed to Alaska for moose, a float trip for moose on the 40-mile river. What an adventure it was, what a dream come true. Oh, I can remember like it was yesterday, my first float trip, and my second one. The things that I learned or didn't learn, but we put to use on this trip here. I changed the rules, and this is how it should be done. Take your notes, write down your phone numbers, do your own dream hunts, and make it happen. It's an adventure you won't forget. But also we got a conservation tip from the Wild Sheep Foundation and a training tip come from Winchester Ammo. Hope you enjoy the show. Don't go away. It's an exciting event.
Bass Pro Shops and Global Sportsman's Network present Bob Folkrod's Hunting Adventures. Seven continents, 80 species, a 5-year quest in the making. High adventure, dangerous game, real-world training tips. This is Bob Folkrod's Hunting Adventures.
About 3 hours later, here comes this plane landing, on the road, and it picks me up and off we go. And basically they're going to fly up the river. That kind of gives me a good idea of what I'm going to be floating. And my main concern was about halfway through this thing, they had a place called the Kink, and he said, yeah, there's been people who went through it, but they were lucky to make it, especially when you're running, your hunting gear, and hopefully you got a moose, and we finally got over that, and I made sure I give it a waypoint. I give it a waypoint up the stream a little bit where you could pull in and take a look at this. And it was one of them places that I really wanted to get on the GPS because it spelled danger. And when we landed, there's a welcome sight. I mean, it's just basically a little landing strip, that's cut out of the forest. And Charlie and Ken already had the rafts pumped up, and they were sitting there anticipating for me to come in. There we were.
Bob Folkrod's Hunting Adventures is also brought to you by these fine sponsors: Gore-Tex, J&M Safari, and Wildlife Studios Premier Taxidermy.
When that big trophy bull steps out, are you going to be ready? In Alaska, preparation was the key, and there was a whole lot of homework that went into it before I ever stepped foot in the woods. I spent a year getting ready for that trip, from researching gear to studying terrain to getting in shape. I didn't leave anything to chance, and I developed a system for setting up my camp. If you notice while watching the show, anytime I wasn't in the raft, this rifle was sitting on this rest. The reason is simple. In a place like that, you're always hunting. And as soon as I found a good place to camp, I set my rifle close to the campsite. Then I went about my business of setting up camp, cooking food. But regardless of what I was doing, I was never more than 30 seconds from taking a shot. The gun rests give me a consistent place for my rifle, binoculars, and rangefinder. Regardless of the terrain or condition, if I needed them, I knew exactly where to find them every time. The last thing you want is when that big bull steps out on that bank, is to be wondering what tree you left your rifle up against. It may seem simple, but many times the difference between a successful hunt and failure can be measured in seconds. More times than not, having all the tools in one place ready to go every time has given me the edge to bring home a trophy instead of an empty tag. So be prepared, be consistent, and ready to pull that trigger when that trophy of a lifetime steps out.
For the next 4 days, Bob and the crew will travel downriver, setting up camp and calling moose. While no bulls came to the call, there were plenty of other things to occupy the time. In a place like this, there's something new around every bend of the river, and it plays out against the incredible beauty of the Alaska wilderness. The river draws a wide array of creatures to its banks, like this young brown bear, curious about the squeaking blue rafts floating by.
Man, we've seen everything so far. It's just been cows, grizzly bear, caribou, eagles. I think everybody's having a great time. How can you not?
There's nothing like sitting in a raft and just floating down, and you got the solitude of the water floating by, and you're looking and you're seeing caribou and grizzly bears and eagles, and you just get lost into the adventure.
According to the IUCN's Red List of Threatened Species, moose categorize as a least concern because they're very widespread and extremely abundant despite fairly intense hunting worldwide. The 2014 Alaska Moose General Season Hunt Statistics reports hunter success rates ranked a mere 23%. Young moose are prey for bears, wolves, and cougars, and only about half live beyond 6 weeks, according to Alaska Department of Wildlife. Adult moose, however, have a much higher chance for survival. Vehicle-moose collisions actually pose the greatest danger to the animal's survival. According to Alaska Department of Fish and Game, hundreds of moose are killed each year in moose versus vehicle accidents. This week's Conservation Angle has been brought to you by Wild Sheep Foundation. Transportation for Bob Folkrod's hunting adventures is provided by Victor Chevrolet.
My strategy was to find a good place to camp and sit there and hunt that a day or two, and then move on to the next location and continue to do this until we got into the moose. We called, quite a lot, and we started a fire, and pretty soon Charlie and Ken showed up, and we sat there and had a good meal, and the fire was going, and I believe Ken was down on the river. He was getting ready to do some time lapses, and I'm overlooking this waddle, and all of a sudden I seen this humongous rat coming through the woods.
Moose, Charlie. Ken, moose.
I mean, it was like a madhouse. Everybody's running around trying to find Ken, and Ken's on the river. He's got his big camera set up doing time lapses. He grabs the camera from Charlie, he comes up. And I remember we're right in front of the fire, and I'm having a hard time adjusting my scope, and Ken says, I can't see that they got the flames coming up through and the heat waves, so we just instantly picked up and we moved like, maybe 5 or 6 steps and got back down.
Come up front.
And this moose put on a show. I mean, he come up and he raked the ground, he pawed the ground, he urinated, and then if that wasn't good enough, he did it all over again.
Probably when he stands, he'll be right. Yep. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Oh. Here we go. Wasn't taking no chances. Yes! Yes! What an awesome trip! What an awesome moose!
Find out whether he's legal or not. It's either got to be 4 brow tines or he's got to be over 50 inches on the inside.
No, the outside.
Outside.
Outside of that curve.
64. 64 inches. What a toad. We were sure hoping we'd get one because we just couldn't show you everything that was happening without this. But not only is it a great moose, but a great adventure, and I'm happy to share it with all of you.
Closed captioning has been provided by Swarovski Optic.
After one last night on the river, the crew rounds the bend for their first taste of civilization in 9 days and the end of their journey. The State Highway 5 bridge over the 40-mile river.
This was really a true adventure, and am I going to do it again? Absolutely. I've already made plans, maybe not to go on that river, but it was so adventurous and exciting that I just can't wait to get back up there and do another one. Good shot, good shot. Oh, good shot. Wasn't that a good shot on that moose? I hit him 3 times, and the only way I could hit him 3 times like that from the homework that I did in Pennsylvania, from packing for the trip, from the shooting, watching tapes on how to get on the river. Hopefully you took notes and make your own dreams come true. Hopefully you get to do your own float trip someday. Until next week, I'm Bob Folkrod, and thanks for watching.
Be sure and follow us on Facebook and Twitter